Hi, my name is Ben, and welcome to my top 10 favorite movies of 2019, 2 months after 2019 ended. I meant to have this video out months ago, and honestly, I feel kind of dumb releasing it now. Nobody really cares anymore, and it's not like this is a particularly novel idea for a video that will bring a lot of new people to my channel. But with the Oscars airing, I finally felt like it was time to hunker down and make this video. Because dang it, this is my channel, and I want to talk about my favorite movies from last year, so that's what I'm gonna do. And just a quick disclaimer, these are my favorites, not necessarily the movies that were objectively the best. So don't judge me if my preferences are a little different than yours. Anyway, without further ado, here are my top 10 favorite movies from 2019. Number 10, 1917. One reason this video was so late is because I was waiting for this film to premiere in my neck of the woods. Because you know, this movie is only a 2019 film in that it premiered in a handful of New York and LA theaters at the tail end of 2019, before actually releasing to the public at large in January and a ploy by the studio to win an Oscar, which I personally feel is cheating. But it was worth the wait. This movie is an incredible achievement in filmmaking. Move over, Birdman. This is by and far one of the most impressive one-take films I have ever seen. Incredibly long takes are insanely difficult under the most ideal of circumstances. But when you are working with special effects, hundreds of extras, and shooting outside where you are entirely dependent on the weather and cloud cover for good lighting, you quickly realize that this movie should have been next to impossible to make. And yet, somehow, it's nearly perfect, with gorgeous cinematography and a score by Thomas Newman, which is one of the most beautiful soundtracks I have listened to in years. I honestly feel like it should have won Best Original Score. And the flare scene was magical and surreal, like something out of a fantasy movie. So yeah, great movie. Number 9, Little Women. When I heard that Greta Gerwig was making yet another adaptation of Little Women, I audibly groaned. Really? Do we need another adaptation of this book? There is no new direction you can take this incredibly simple story in. It's been played out and done to death. Leave it alone. Well, needless to say, I was dead wrong. Greta Gerwig takes a stab at nonlinear storytelling, and in doing so makes this story far more compelling than I've ever seen it done on screen before. By mirroring the events of the past and present, she breathes new life into this story and these characters, creating heartwarming and heart-wrenching parallels at every turn. This movie was, in a word, delightful. Wonderfully wholesome, happy, romantic, realistic, and tragic. It's a wonderful glance into the life of these girls and the painful transition from childhood to adulthood, with amazing performances by Saoirse Ronan and Florence Pugh that made me fall in love with their respective characters. And Gerwig was robbed of a Best Directing nomination for this film, because if you can take a story that I had this little interest in and make it one of my favorite films of the year, you've gained a fan in me, and I honestly cannot wait to see what Greta Gerwig does next. At number 8, we have Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I never thought I'd say this about a Quentin Tarantino movie, but I enjoyed this for similar reasons as to why I liked Little Women. It's just kind of a feel-good movie. For the most part. But a large portion of this film is just devoted to looking at classic Hollywood through rose-colored glasses, and it's nice. Nice to stare into a less jaded past, with corny acting and fun characters just kind of living their lives. The first time I saw it, it felt kind of aimless, but upon rewatch I realized that this entire movie is essentially just a series of setups and payoffs, and whoo boy do they pay off with one of the most insane, fun, and horrific endings I have seen in a Tarantino flick to date. It's really just a fun time at the movies that reminds me why I love movies so much. Number 7, Jojo Rabbit. Best comedy of the year, by and far. I mean, obviously, it's Taika Waititi. Everything he touches is comedic gold. But man, this one got some huge belly laughs out of me, particularly from Taika's Hitler character. But what I was not expecting was for this movie to be so incredibly touching. I don't want to give anything away, but there are some moments in this movie that got me close to tears. It's just a really, really beautiful movie. If you haven't seen it, I cannot recommend it enough. Check it out first chance you get. Number 6, Knives Out. Can Rian Johnson just spend the rest of his career making Benoit Blanc movies? Because Knives Out is a blast from beginning to end. Early on, it subverts the murder mystery formula, but yet it still delivers on everything you'd want out of a film from that genre. Ana de Armas was my favorite actor in all of Blade Runner 2049, and here she proves once again how fantastic of an actress she is. It has an amazingly colorful cast of characters, laugh-out-loud funny moments, and an intriguing structure. And the final shot of this film is my favorite shot of the entire year. Ryan, this movie is incredible, and I need more. I need like a million of these. Please and thank you. Number 5, Marriage Story. I've not always been a big fan of Noah Baumbach. His films just aren't really my cup of tea. But when Marriage Story was announced, I read an interview with him in which he explained that he titled the film Marriage Story because he never really fully understood his marriage until he was going through his divorce. Intrigued, I decided to check the film out. And this movie, man, an emotional gut punch. This film left me floored and filled with the resounding conviction that I will never get divorced because of how painful and freaking expensive it's shown to be in the film. It's just a really beautiful movie, showcasing how two well-meaning people can horribly hurt each other worse and worse almost by accident. It's tragic while never feeling bleak, delving into the complexities of love without ever growing cynical. I feel Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson honestly should have won Oscars for their roles, as they both gave quite possibly the two best performances I saw all year. Well, save for one, but we'll get to that in a moment. And Randy Norman's whimsical score provided a gorgeous catalyst to the morose scenes playing out on screen. It's just great. I was honestly surprised by how moved I was by the end of the film. I highly recommend this movie. Check it out. Number 4, Us. Hey look, a movie that wasn't nominated for an Oscar. But in my opinion, it should have gotten a few nods, because this film is a masterpiece of horror. Tense, yet hilarious. This movie is exactly the kind of movie I love to see from the horror genre. Well thought out, well crafted, and incredibly weird, with strange world building that stretches far beyond the confines of what the horror genre usually brings, shifting subgenres of horror films multiple times throughout. I love the twisted and weird world Jordan Peele crafted here, and I want more. Michael Abel's score is honestly one of the most unsettling horror scores I have ever heard, and yes, it should have gotten an Oscar nomination. And then there's Lupita. Her performance in this movie is the best I saw all year. She crafts a main character that is likable and a main character that is unsettling. No matter who she's playing, she's magnetic, commanding the screen with a presence the likes of which I rarely see in modern-day Hollywood. After watching this movie, I honestly do not know why she isn't being cast in literally everything, and I have no idea how she didn't get an Oscar nomination. She's the pin that holds this wonderfully strange movie together, and I cannot wait to see what new nightmares Jordan Peele cooks up for us next. Number 3, Parasite. Can you tell I approved of this year's Best Picture nominees yet? I did not know what to expect of this movie going in. I knew no plot details, I didn't even know it existed until about a month prior. Going in, I confess, I was worried that this was going to be some sort of super pretentious art house flick with the way people were talking, but instead what I got was objectively probably the best movie of the year. This movie has it all. It's fun, it's funny, it's tense, it's horrifying, it's utterly unpredictable. My foolish preconceptions were instantly brushed aside by a masterfully well-told story, complete with rich themes about wealth disparity. But this isn't one of those movies that critics love and audiences hate. This movie is incredibly accessible on every level, with all the thrills of any other mainstream thriller, but with masterful craft on display. The acting, the cinematography, the sets, the script. This film swept the Oscars, and I cheered because it more than deserves every accolade it received. Trust me when I say check this film out. You won't regret it. Number 2, Ford versus Ferrari. What? The dad movie? Yes, because these are my favorite movies of the year. And there were very few movies I enjoyed this year quite as much as Ford versus Ferrari. I love movies with substance. I love movies with spectacle, and this film has both in spades. I don't really care anything about racing or cars, but this movie made me feel like I did. I saw the film in IMAX, which amplified every sound effect, fully immersing me into the world. But more than that, this film spoke to me as an artiste. The entire film feels like an extended therapy session by James Mangold as he weaves a story about trying to create art in a corporate system that doesn't understand anything but numbers. After working on back-to-back Wolverine movies for Fox, you can practically feel years of frustration being excised through the characters in this film. Couple that with incredibly good performances by Christian Bale and Matt Damon, and some top-notch writing, and you've got one heck of a crowd pleaser on your hands. Now, before I get to my number one pick, here's some honorable mentions. Now, last but not least, at number 1, Avengers Endgame. Yep, I'm the plebeian whose favorite movie of the year is an Avengers movie. Again. But honestly, it could never have been anything but this one. This movie blew my mind. As we have seen evidenced recently, ending an epic saga is not an easy task. But with Endgame, they managed to craft an incredible finale to 11 years worth of storytelling. Characters who've been on screen for over a decade are giving satisfying ends to their character arcs. Storylines that have been in play for years are paid off brilliantly. This is a film that takes everything established previously and manages to skillfully incorporate all of it. This movie is an unpredictable thrill ride from start to finish. But that ending. Oh my gosh, that ending. I found myself giggling like a child at the spectacle on display in that finale. I felt like a 10-year-old let loose in a room filled with every action figure he could ever dream of. Every character is given their moment to shine. And that ending, oof, man tears. So many man tears. This movie is an amazing conclusion to an incredible saga that I've been blessed to experience for the past 11 years. And it could not have gone out on a better note. And that's it. Those were my top 10 favorite movies from last year. Feel free to comment below and share your top 10 of the year. I look forward to hearing your thoughts. And as always, thanks for watching. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you'd like to help out this channel, please feel free to share this video on any social media sites such as Reddit or Twitter. Also, if you'd be willing to give me a like and a comment, that would be super helpful, as that helps the monster known as the algorithm to find me. And if you like this video and want to see more, feel free to subscribe. It's free. Anyways, thanks for watching.